Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. We're down here in Fairbury, Nebraska. I'm with Randy Prellwitz, and he's with SkyTech. So we'll start out with, first tell us who you are and what SkyTech is and kind of what your role is here.
Okay, well my name is, as you said, it's Randy Prellwitz. I live here in Fairbury, Nebraska. This is going on my 9th year now with SkyTech. And so SkyTech is the aerial division of Farmers Cooperative. We do aerial application with the spray planes and cover crop seeding and stuff like that. So that's kind of, and I'm one of the pilots for SkyTech.
Okay. So what are, you're the pilot, are there any other responsibilities that you have at SkyTech? Or?
Well, yeah, the most obvious, is the pilot, but you know, I'm also a little bit of a salesman, little bit of marketing for SkyTech, little bit of a mechanic for, when things need a little bit of fixing on, and then a little also like a loader to load the airplanes. When we get busy in the summer, we got loaders out here that kind of take that responsibility on. But like right now, where I'm just doing pasture, I'm kind of out here by myself, so I figure the loads and load the airplane and go out and put it on the fields. So
and take care of it all.
Yep.
So how did you get started into just flying, and then how did that transition into working for SkyTech with Farmers Cooperative?
Well, yeah, my family has no history of aviation whatsoever. A lot of people, they have families that have brothers or sisters or their dads got them into it, but I had no thought of ever flying. A friend of mine, he wanted to learn how to fly, but he didn't want to do it by himself, so he talked me into going and taking flying lessons with him. It started out in Belleville, Kansas at a flying club down there, and that's where I got my private license. And then since I was actually closer to Fairbury, at the time I was living in Reynolds, Nebraska, I actually did my most of my ratings out here at Fairbury with Ingalls Aircraft, and Jeff Ingalls was my instructor. And so I did my instrument commercial, my flight instructors, and then I also added on a multi-engine after that. So that's kind of what got me started in flying. And as I was doing most of my training through Ingalls Aircraft out here at the time, they had an aerial application business. And so as time kind of progressed and I kind of moved up through my ratings, Jeff approached me if I'd ever be interested in doing some aerial application. And so I thought, I was kind of young, and I thought, it'd be pretty cool. So he started training me on flying like the tailwheel airplanes, like the sprayers are. They're a tailwheel airplane, and so you got to get some experience in them. And so anyway, Jeff kind of got me going on the aerial application business, and I did it as a part-time for years. I started in the early 90s learning the business, and just kind of helped Ingalls' out on a part-time basis, weekends or nights. And so as time went on, I went up and helped Scott DeLong out one time for Ingalls. Scott was getting behind, and so I went up and took one of Ingalls' planes up there and helped Scott out for a day or so. And that's kind of how I got to know Scott. Scott is our other pilot out of Fairmont. He's actually been with the company since it was originated by Farmers Cooperative, and I believe it was 1997. So anyway, as years went by and I kind of did less and less of it, and I hadn't actually done any aerial application for probably several years. And then out of the blue one day, Scott called me up and he remembered that I came up and helped him, and so he wanted to know if I'd be willing to come up and fly their Cessna. And I said, well, I've never flown a Cessna. And anyway, that year we never got together, and so the next year he called again and said, hey, we need some help. Would you be willing to come up and help? So I went up and got a little bit of time in the Cessna. And anyway, so I started helping Scott again, weekends, nights. I maybe take a day or two off during the week for work, and this was in the busy fungicide season. And I'd get off of work here in Fairbury and I'd fly up to Fairmont and go help Scott. So anyway, I helped Scott for 4 or 5 years doing like this, and then I had the opportunity just to join the company full time. So in 2011 is when I actually,
when you came on full time.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So what all do you apply here with SkyTech?
So SkyTech, we apply aerial apply insecticides, herbicides, fungicides, fertilizers, and we've been doing a lot more cover crops. Is starting to become a big thing in probably the past 5 years. The cover crops thing has really took off for us.
What do you like best about being a pilot for SkyTech versus being like a traditional commercial pilot?
You know, like if you think of somebody like an airline pilot or something like that, I mean, it's kind of a routine thing. They're doing the same things, going to the same places, basically all the time, I guess. This here, that's flying this kind of flying, it's every day is different. You know, you might be going to Frankfurt one time, and the next time you're going to over by Firth, or we're right around here by Fairbury, or I'm going up to by Plymouth and DeWitt. I mean, and every field is different. Every field has its own set of, I don't know, characteristics, I guess you could call them, or obstacle. Yeah, unique. You know, like, you know, sometimes you just got nice flat fields where the going's great, and the next time you got some kind of obstacle or something there that you know you got to be watching out for, and always have in your mind all the time what that is. You know, whether it be a tower or a power line or something, you know, that you got to keep in the back of your mind while you're obviously concentrating on flying the field and doing a good job on the field.
So how fast do you fly when you're coming into a field? Like,
generally, you know, we're going over the field probably anywhere from 130 to 150 mile an hour.
Oh wow, it's a lot faster than I expected.
Yeah, we're cooking, and so things happen
fairly
pretty
quickly.
fast. You know, one thing you don't want to be doing is looking backwards, because that's not doing you no good. You better be looking ahead at what you're doing. So,
and so how long does it take to, say, like if you were treating like a quarter, how long does that take before, you know, start to finish?
so quarter section, you know, good, just a square quarter, it's probably, I might be a little slower than some. I mean, I can usually figure I can do a quarter in 25 to 30 minutes.
Oh wow.
And so that's pretty good.
So if there was a young person out there listening, or maybe somebody that doesn't have a license yet, or somebody that has one and is looking to get into it? Do you have any advice for somebody that's looking to start with, us or anybody else
Right.
in this business?
Well, you kind of take baby steps. I mean, if you're a person that is susceptible to air sickness or something like that, if you don't like roller coasters or stuff like that, you might think it a little bit or go for a ride with somebody. But I mean, the biggest thing is, just stay focused on it. It's something you're not gonna get into overnight. I mean, it's kind of a progression. I mean, you're gonna learn how to fly an airplane first. When you're doing this, flying the airplane has just got to be second nature, and your main concentration is on other stuff like looking, applying the material and flying the airplane has just got to become just automatic. You're not even thinking about flying the airplane so much.
Muscle memory.
Right,
needs to be there.
Yep. And so, I mean, I could say, stay the course. You're going to start out with get your private certificate, obviously, to your pilot's license. And then before you can do this, you got to have a commercial pilot's license. And so that requires a minimum of 250 hours of time.
That's the time.
And so most people in between that will go ahead and do their instrument rating, and it's just, and then when you get all that, you are not maybe just going to walk into somewhere and they're going to give you the keys to one of these things, So, I mean, you might work for somebody for a year or two, maybe just loading airplanes and just being around the business, before you. So I guess, I would just say, just stay the course. And if it's something you really enjoy doing, then, it's like anything else. If you enjoy doing it, it's worth taking the time to learn how to do it. So,
well, that's great. So you've been flying for quite a while and flying for us for quite a while. Do you have any interesting or funny stories or some crazy things that have happened?
Well, yeah. A couple years ago, we were doing alfalfa weevil in the early spring, and generally what alfalfa weevil involves is lots of small little fields, and most of the weevil has been down in the Kansas area. And so I went out with a load, and I think I did one field on the way down. I was down by Summerfield, Kansas, which is a pretty good ferry from here.
Yeah.
And I got down to the field, and I'm circling the field, and I'm kind of, you always do that, kind of looking for how you're going to fly it, looking for obstacles, and all of a sudden, as I'm circling the field, here comes this guy with a tractor and planter, pulls right into the middle of the field, and just stops right in the waterway. And so I'm thinking, well, okay, because he had a truck parked there, so he was obviously going to fill his planter with, I don't know what he was planting, beans maybe at the time. So he gets out, and I thought, well, okay, I'll just circle here a little bit. And he gets out, and he starts messing with the planter, and I think so he backed the truck up to it, and he's filling the planter, and I'm like, okay, it looks like he's about done here. And so you got other thing is, I do not have most of the time I don't go out with full fuel or nothing because of just weight restrictions and stuff. I know I had a full hopper load when I left, and so I'm circling, and this guy is just dinking with this planter, and I mean, so I have like Lorsban on, and I know I had Lorsban on, which is a poison. It's an insecticide. And so I'm getting you know, after about 10 minutes or 15 of this circling, I'm thinking, well, surely he knows I'm here. So I swooped down on him and I buzzed him a couple times, and well, he didn't get much response out of him. And I'm thinking, you know, surely he'll get the idea here that I want to get to
going.
do this field. And nothing. So I buzzed him a couple more times. This time I laid some smoke out. We got a smoker on the airplane where it injects oil into the exhaust, and we use that to tell which way the wind's blowing. And I laid a big old cloud of smoke over him, and still nothing. And so I'm starting to get a little irritated by now. And so I got on my phone and I called back to Fairbury to JB, to Jerry Bessler, and I said, hey, I'm over here. You know, I gave him the whole story. So he calls. I can't remember where this order came out of. It was one of the Kansas locations, and he calls them, and so they're trying to get a hold of this guy on the phone, and so finally, you know, I've probably been over there now for over 30 minutes circling.
Just circling over the
Yeah,
field.
and I still got one more field to do yet on my way back home, and so these things are burning 50 gallons an hour of fuel, and so I'm thinking, you know, you're in the back of my mind, fuel may be becoming an issue here. And so after they tried getting a hold of him, they finally got a hold of him, and they said, you know, did you not see this airplane circling above you? Yeah, I seen him. They said, just tell him to spray me. He said, I'm just go ahead and just spray over me. And I said, I am not spraying this guy. And so I just turned around and left, went to my next field. And so, you know, it was an unusual thing. I don't know if it's that funny a story, but
I think it's a good story.
it was.
I think it's a good PSA for people. You see if you know you've got a SkyTech plane coming,
Yeah.
maybe don't be in the field when they're coming.
You know, exactly. And I mean, it's our responsibility as a pilot and an applicator, you know, to
not dump
to not do some dumb thing like that. But, you know.
Well, I appreciate you sitting down with me and taking the time out. If anybody needs anything from SkyTech, how can they get a hold of you or get that process started? So
anything with SkyTech, I mean, they can call. I am located at the Fairbury Agronomy branch is where I'm based out of. Scott DeLong, who's our senior pilot, he's based out of Fairmont, Nebraska. And but you can call any one of our agronomy branches, you know, whatever area that you're in or branch you're close to, you can call them and put an order into them, and they will get this.
Sure you get it.
Yep, we get it from all the branches. So
all right,
that's how to do it. And thanks for coming down to the hangar today.
Yeah, I
So,
appreciate it. It's a cool place.
Yep.
Well, everybody, if there's anything else you need, make sure you check out www.myfarmerscoop.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as LinkedIn. And if you have any questions, call your local branch. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.